Hi everyone, my name is Marc Bates. I'm a metabolic health coach, and today we're talking about artificial sweeteners and how they rewire your metabolism without warning. This is a highlights presentation, so it's approximately 5 minutes, and it covers uh, some information we have done on a much longer video, just to give you the good points. Okay, so for decades, artificial sweeteners have been marketed as metabolic ghosts. Zero calories, zero consequences, zero impact on blood sugar. Recent research reveals a very different story. In reality, these compounds aren't metabolically neutral. They actively disrupt cellular communication, triggering insulin resistance, glucose dysregulation through mechanisms that have nothing to do with calories. The sucralose deception. Sucralose, the sweetener in Splenda, demonstrates how artificial sweeteners hijack metabolic signaling. Despite containing no glucose, it impairs the body's ability to regulate blood sugar through a cascade of cellular disruptions. The mechanism begins with sweet taste receptors throughout the gastrointestinal tract. When sucralose binds to these receptors, it triggers the release of incretin hormones like GLP-1 and GIP, preparing the pancreas for insulin secretion. The problem? No actual glucose arrives. This creates a metabolic mismatch. The body expects sugar based on the sweet signal, but receives none, leading to inappropriate insulin release and disrupted glucose homeostasis. Clinical evidence supports these concerns. A randomized controlled trial found that healthy subjects consuming sucralose showed a significant decrease in insulin sensitivity of 17.7% after just 14 days of consumption. The disruption extends beyond immediate effects. Sucralose alters gut microbiome composition, reducing beneficial bacteria that maintain metabolic health and increasing systematic inflammation. The carbohydrate amplification effect. Research reveals an even more concerning pattern. When sucralose is consumed with carbohydrates, it amplifies negative metabolic effects beyond what either would cause alone. This synergistic dysfunction occurs because sucralose disrupts normal nutrient sensing. The body receives conflicting signals about incoming nutrients, leading to dysregulated insulin responses and impaired glucose clearance. The common practice of drinking diet sodas with meals represents a worst-case scenario for metabolic regulation. Allulose, a different metabolic language. Natural alternatives like allulose operate through fundamentally different mechanisms. Unlike artificial sweeteners that confuse metabolic signaling, allulose communicates clearly with cellular pathways. Allulose is a rare sugar that gets absorbed but not metabolized. The body recognizes it as a sugar rather than an artificial compound, preventing the sensory mismatch that creates metabolic chaos. Research demonstrates that allulose actually enhances metabolic function. It induces GLP-1 release and improves glucose tolerance through enhanced insulin action, supporting rather than disrupting normal physiology. Studies show allulose can reduce post-meal glucose spikes by 10 to 15% when consumed with carbohydrates, the opposite effect of sucralose. Media misrepresentation creates confusion. The Etherol cardiovascular study exemplifies how media distortion undermines public understanding of sweetener research. Headlines suggesting immediate danger from ethanol consumption, but the study measured something entirely different. Researchers examined blood ethanol levels in patients with existing cardiovascular disease. They found correlations between higher ethanol levels and increased cardiac events. The critical detail: the study measured endogenous ethanol produced by the body under metabolic stress, not ethanol consumed in food. High blood ethanol appears to be a marker of metabolic dysfunction rather than a cause. The body produces ethanol through the pentose phosphate pathway when experiencing oxidative stress. This distinction matters. Elevated ethanol may signal existing metabolic problems rather than create new ones. Personalized metabolic testing. Individual responses to sweeteners vary dramatically based on genetics, gut microbiome composition, and metabolic health status. Universal recommendations ignoring this biological reality. Effective sweetener selection requires personalized testing. This involves monitoring glucose response, tracking subjective symptoms, and assessing metabolic biomarkers before and after sweetener consumption. People with insulin resistance, gut dysbiosis, or inflammatory conditions may experience amplified negative responses to any sweetener, including natural options. The goal isn't finding the perfect sweetener, but identifying which compounds align with individual metabolic function. Finally, beyond calories to cellular communication. The sweetener conversation must evolve beyond calorie counting to cellular signaling. Artificial sweeteners represent metabolic inputs that trigger cellular decisions regardless of their caloric content. This paradigm shift recognizes that metabolic health depends on clear communication between taste, hormonal, and cellular systems. When these signals align, the body maintains stable glucose regulation and appropriate hunger responses. When artificial sweeteners create sensory mismatches, they disrupt the communication network, leading to insulin resistance, dysregulated appetite, and metabolic dysfunction. True metabolic health requires compounds that support rather than subvert biological signaling pathways. Once again, I want to thank you for watching, and please hit like, subscribe, hit the button, and share this video. Thank you.